Capital discipline in high-performance enterprises, aligning strategy, technology, and governance. Welcome to the Better Boards podcast series, the podcast for chairs, CEOs, non-executive directors, company secretaries, and their advisors. Every episode is filled with practical insights and learning from those inside boardrooms. We discuss what really matters and highlight actionable steps you can take to enhance the performance of your board. I'm Dr. Sabine Dembkowski, founder and managing partner of Better Boards. We make the boards of the most ambitious organizations more effective. Our mission at Better Boards is to help create better boards. We do this by providing clients with an evidence-based approach to board evaluations and board development programs. Our clients have access to an innovative digital platform for their internal and external evaluations. In capital-intensive, brand-driven organizations operating at the intersection of luxury, technology, and sport, strategic ambition must be matched by disciplined governance. How should boards evaluate significant CapEx decisions tied to long-term technological roadmaps? How can directors ensure that investments in innovation is supported by parallel investment in organizational capability, leadership culture, and human skills? And how can alignment be maintained across diverse shareholder structures in high-visible global enterprises? In this discipline, I'm absolutely delighted to speak with Marco Mattiacci. Marco is a global executive with 25 plus years of leadership experience across luxury, automotive, motorsport, and media. Amongst other roles, he was the Global Chief Brand and Commercial Officer at Aston Martin Lagonda, and he was also, I know petrol heads listen to this, previously he served as a team principal of Scuderia Ferrari Formula One, and he was also president and CEO of Ferrari North America and Asia Pacific. Marco, fantastic to have you on the Better Boards podcast series. Thank you so much for making time to contribute.
Sabine, thank you very much to you. It's a great pleasure, and I've been a great follower of your podcast, so I'm really, really happy to be here with you.
Hey, fantastic. We have a brilliant topic because there's so much talk even in the mainstream media now about CapEx because of all the spend of these large tech companies, their CapEx spend. So we look into this and what it really means.
Yeah.
First, look at this capital allocation as a governance discipline, really. I mean, when we prepared for this, we talked about the high-performance, capital-intensive industries, and the strategic ambition can sometimes, of course, outpace financial discipline, as we might see at the moment in this AI race. From your experience, how should boards evaluate major CapEx programs to ensure alignment with long-term value creation rather than short-term pressure?
Yes, indeed. First of all, it's depend on the industry you are. I come from, if you want, automotive and as well motorsport, luxury. I think that it's an epistemic problem. I mean that you need to have a strong knowledge of the industry and the technology we are talking about. And I do believe I think my suggestion, what I did see is that I use a parallel roadmap governance model that basically there should be, in a very few words, there should be a technology roadmap. So basically what is the use case, what is the technology, the evolution that we're going to have through the engineering to the program. But as well, fundamental for me is that to make a strong assessment, this is the second roadmap, about the talent and the culture. So to create a talent and culture roadmap and making sure, yes, we go ahead with this technology roadmap and evolution, but do we have the skills? Do we have the leadership bandwidth? Do we have the incentives and the capacity to execute it? And the third, again, roadmap that are intertwined with the other two is definitely, that's coming back to your question, the capital release roadmap. I mean, there is clear that the funding must be released in tranches and only when gates are hit, not in a single commitment that removes all the governance leverage. And I really believe, in that case, the board is not approving a budget, but is approving a sequence of gate of proofs. And because indeed, when you approve this capital intensive program, is not just a line of budget, is something that is definitely disrupting the dynamics of the company that have an impact. In this case, I'm talking if you want AI, but as well, when we did approve EV roadmap in the automotive side, and the consequence were not only, if you want, on the engineering R&D side, was not that line of budget, but had an impact about the skill set of the company, what kind of people we need to have in order to arrive to produce and manufacture such kind of product. But the other point that I want to stress is that you need to have even a strong assessment of the ecosystem around the company. So it means, for instance, the suppliers. Is all the ecosystem, starting from your employee, your engineer, but your suppliers, ready to embrace this new technology in terms of knowledge, in terms of process, time of reaction? In the case of AI, I can tell you that yes, everything testing is going to be, time of test is going to be reduced, everything is going to be faster, but you need to make sure that not only within the company, but as well on your supplier base, they are ready to interface with the company at that speed. Because if the system is fragile, and I conclude, its ecosystem is fragile, your system is as strong as the weakest part of your ecosystem. If there is some fragility, the damage to go approaching fast the technology evolution, implementation in the company is really very risky. So going back to your question, today in capital intense investment company, you really need to do a deep down analysis at 360 degrees. As I said, definitely the technology roadmap. According to me, priority number one is what the organization chart will look like in 3 years once we have implemented all this new technology across the company, across our new products. And indeed, underline the capital roadmap, the capital release roadmap that has to be done in gates, because it cannot just be approved 1 billion, 600 million, or 10 million just on a vision, on a good narrative. There must be this kind of gates that tell you, okay, here we are in 3 months, that's where we're going to be, that's where we're going to go to see the first return, the first use case activated. So there must be great preparation and great, if you want, flexibility from the board in order when you go to approve this CapEx. As I say, it's just not a line of budget on the R&D.
What I'm seeing when observing boards is I seldom see this overlay of different roadmaps, what you described there.
Yeah.
Yes, there might be one roadmap, but not this overlay of different board roadmaps. Of course, influence each other.
Yeah.
And the second point you are saying is there need to be clear stages, and every stage needs to be very clearly defined, and there need to be clear measures for every stage. That's actually the second point that I'm not very often observing.
That is the one related to the gates, what
Yes.
we are discussing.
Yes.
Yeah, because, I have been relating to very diverse board, sovereign wealth fund, industrial conglomerate representative, pure financial investors, and traditional OEM. And everybody has yes, they align on the overall strategy, but then when you go on short, medium-term targets, everybody has a different definition of success.
Yes, exactly.
So that creates ambiguity. And ambiguity is the worst enemy of business, or success in business. So the only way to take away ambiguity is that to engineer the process. And when you engineer the process with gates and you give a clear scorecard of the achievement, a grid scorecard with number, KPI, and data, you take away ambiguity and you align a very diverse board on what is really the definition of success. And as such, the release of funds in order to say, okay, we can move now to the next 3 months of investment.
Yeah, I think that message here is very timely as a lot of organizations need to go through major capex expenditure.
Yeah.
And I'm quite often observing that these processes, these gates, as you mentioned, are really not in place.
Yeah. It's a big effort at the beginning, Sabine. Big effort in terms, first of all, having the ethics to the intellectual honesty to go down on the subject, really not at the first level, a second level, third level. Because, for instance, if you speak about AI, yes, there is a lot of buzzword around, but you need to really understand implication in terms of data management, in terms of cyber security, in terms of ethical use of data, and as well, what is the success of the use case, what kind of area of the company is going to be disrupted. So there must be the intellectual honesty to say, okay, I need to be prepared. As I told you, I just finished an executive program on AI in Oxford at the Said School, executive school, because AI is touching a lot of parts of our life. Be on the board, not on the board, be an executive or not executive. So when you speak about that, when you get involved, in particular in terms of capex investment, such a huge capex investment cannot be only a discussion about strategy or the future will look better. You really need to understand the implication at 360 degrees. What are you talking about? And those implications then are financial implication on that. So the first step is that you need to have a board that has strong knowledge of the subject we are talking about. That's fundamental. And from there, then you start to establish, as I said, the gates and metrics and KPIs that clear align all the board, beside be diverse or different industry, or what are the definition of success.
And let's look at the element of human capital, extending and building on what you just said. I mean, any investment, be it in technology or other things, is only effective if supported by the right skills and the right culture in the organization.
Yeah.
What role should boards really play in overseeing this development of leadership capability, talent pipelines, and organizational mindset required to deliver on these roadmaps?
Yeah, even there, as I said, the experience usually, and I'm sure you have experience too, that the talent culture part is not very looked in the detail.
Yes.
Because it's difficult to have quantify the definition of success again and say, okay, is the organization moving in the right direction? So I think the first step is, as I said, the question is, okay, if you go ahead investing massively on AI, what the organization is going to look like in 3 years? What is the organization, the skill set, the profile of people, and the culture, the mindset that will support the embrace of that technology? Because again, I have experience in which you have a phenomenal technology roadmap. You have a great group of engineers that have the vision, they look at that, but then if the rest of the R&D team or the supplier base or the procurement base is not aligned and have an understanding of that technology arriving, you're going to have a serious problem. You're going to get caught off guard. So the issue is that technology, R&D, evolve extremely fast, and the pace of evolution of scouting for talent, bringing talents on board, training, it's much slower. So if technology go faster, then your curve of learning and implementing your organization is going to be an auto-sync situation that create a lot of problem. And basically, if you can say, let the project fail. So going back to your point, definitely there must be a roadmap very well defined of talent and culture that is in sync, aligned, intertwined with the technology roadmap, and definitely with the capital release roadmap. It's fundamental. It's not anymore, you cannot anymore considering the breakthrough of new technology. You cannot anymore underestimate or take in a different silos the talent and the culture side. Because again, then what the company stand for in 3 years. Once you will have a lot of process, a lot of works, jobs, of tasks that will be taken over by AI. What will be the relationship with the supplier base? Are they going to be as fast as your technology? So that's extremely complex if you look in a holistic way, multidimensional way. But that at the beginning require a lot of work. So it is worth probably to wait to set up the business plan, the strategy, but going down really until you feel extremely confident that these three areas, as I said, the technology roadmap, talent and culture, and capital release are perfectly in sync and intertwined.
Now, what's the role of the board versus what's the role of the executives? Who should do what?
I mean, there is always this halo, this issue that board members are concerned that they are stepping on the toes of management.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's a little bit of tense relationship. At the same time, the executives say, "Okay, hold on a second, this is my turf." But as a manager, I think that I have always great expectation from the board in terms of they have more experience than me, they have more wisdom, and they have an helicopter view. As a manager, I'm involved in the daily business. So in particular, in times like these days, I mean, you really are under intense pressure, in particular organization like could be, high performance organization like motorsport, or if you want automotive. So I think the board has the opportunity to take over that part, that to have a helicopter view, a longer view, wisdom, experience, and really they can support that part strongly. So they are complementary. It's I think it's a job that has to be done. It's like a tango. Okay, I don't see anymore the role of the board nowadays be just checking the box every 3 months. Everything's done like auditors. That's gone.
So, talking about human capital brings us also to culture,
Yeah.
which is a real strategic asset. And particularly in the industries where you were very active, luxury and performance-driven enterprises. I mean, culture is often the hidden driver of the whole success of these organizations. How can boards really assess whether culture and governance structures are aligned and also aligned with the organization's strategic ambition? Because it's such a soft topic in a way, I see a lot of boards actually struggling exactly with that. How do they get their hands on the culture and understand it without being there every day?
Listen, today, thanks God, in some way, technology play in our favor. I mean, you can see sentiments of the team or the employee. You can have survey every month. You can have survey every week. You can see media sentiment around the company. You definitely rely on the top executive, on the executive team that tell you where you go. You can do a lot of intelligence about the history of the company. You can do intelligence out of a hunting firm that tell you about what the culture is and what the culture we want to be in 3 years from now. Because when you work in a high performance company, I mean, you can be reassured that you are asking immense sacrifice, immense pressure to all the team. So you need to make sure that everybody is aligned to pay that kind of price, because that kind of success, that kind of, if you want speed in order to be the number one in your segment, come with extremely high pressure, great process, and great intensity. And you can see that sometimes maybe new generation or diverse people, group of people or geography, they are not ready to do that. So it is important that you do a very thorough assessment as EXCO, but as well that you as a board, you understand what's going on if you want to arrive in 3 years where we said we want to arrive. So there is a lot of, intangibles, as you said, but today you have a lot of data points that tell you where you are and what you need to do in order where you want to be in a few years from now.
So tell me, Marco, what have you seen really working? Because I know for a fact, I discussed this just very recently in the last 2 weeks, probably with 3 board members, exactly this point.
Yeah.
What have you seen really working? How can a board really get a good handle on the culture and also measure the cultural progress? Does it go in the right strategic direction?
Yeah. First of all, I guess that you need to establish a very good dialogue with the exco. You need to, with the executive team, you need to establish a great dialogue with HR. But this is not only an HR topics, because sometimes this kind of things about organization and HR, you establish a direct channel from one of the member of the board with that subject that is area that is HR and organization. It is not. I think every executive, top executive, is in charge of the quality of the vision that his team have. So I think that is a dialogue with the exco. I like the idea to have board in India, on other places in China, or if you have business in US, you go to US. But I think that 2/3 of the board must be taken within the company, and not just, there is the board, definitely, but there is the opportunity for the board member to establish a dialogue with the employee, with certain area, with the directors. So it's the dialogue to give you the pulse, to be there and to understand. Again, you have already in mind what is going to be, what you want in terms of evolution of the team, of the culture of the company. So when you go there in the company, you understand you can have the pulse through the metrics that several executives give you, to the pulse of the conversation that you have. Require a little bit more work, because unfortunately, culture cannot just be related to a simple KPI. You need a good conversation, informal conversation with top executive, with directors, going around with clients of the company, suppliers of the company. So you have many ways to indirectly put together all the data points that give you, this is where the company stands today in terms of culture. This is where we are after 1.5 years. This is what we have to do in terms of in the next 2 years. So it's a mix of dialogue, KPI, go beyond just what you see in the company. But I go back to square one. For me, is fundamental the ecosystem. So the several stakeholders. You can talk to clients, you can talk to investors, you can talk to suppliers. Okay. From that data, you can see where the company stands in terms of culture, where is it going.
Thank you, Marco. I'm looking at the clock, and sadly, we have to come to an end to this, but there will be a second part. But let's summarize maybe the key points from what we discussed so far. What do you think are the key takeaways, the 3 key takeaways our listeners should take away from our conversation so far?
Yes, the first one, when in a company that have intensive capex investment, is that you're not just approving a line of the budget, but you are basically approving a sequence of proof and gates. That's, according to me, to stick to discipline in the way that capex and capital gets spent in the company. The second fundamental part for me is that you don't have to forget the ecosystem. The company is made of not only the company, but a group of suppliers, stakeholders, clients. So you need to have a strong assessment of the impact of the technology or the investment that you're doing in all the ecosystem, and making sure that you have return on the investment, because maybe there are areas of the company or outside the company, the ecosystem, that is not ready to embrace the new technology or really capitalize at the best with the investment that you're doing. And the other one, I think, last but not least, is the culture and talent. I think this is too many times overlooked, and probably has to be line. Once you have the vision, once you know what you want to be in 3 years in terms of technology roadmap, immediately you need to make an assessment, make sure that what the company will look like in 3 years in terms of organization, what good we have today. Because unfortunately, sometimes when we say, okay, let's go for a disruption technology, let's go for a new operating system, you go for a reset. And reset means that you put away a lot of good people, capital of brains that they should be. So you need to do a good assessment about what is in place, what is good in the company, and then what we need in the next 36 months, who we need to add, how to look at making that, how long it's going to take us to get those right people in the company.
Fantastic. Marco, thank you so much for contributing to the Better Boards podcast series. Our listeners, there will be part 2 to this conversation.
Thank you, Sabine. You've been great. Thanks a lot. Have a great day.
Thank you for listening to part 1. As we indicated, there will be a part 2 because there was so much to discuss. I hope you tune in again. Please never hesitate to get in touch. We love to meet as many of you out there as possible. If you are interested in our work, if you would like to join our board community, if you have an interest in a specific topic that you would like to see that we cover, reach out. You can best reach us at info@better-boards.com.